Today I wanted to talk about, I don't really know how to really classify it so much as just my own personal trying to be healthier. When I first started doing videos, half of the reason that I did it was because I wanted to, I guess, kind of observe myself. I felt really healthy, but I had started to get really puffy, and I had started to get really bad headaches that even if I laid down and took a nap, I would still be in a lot of pain. And so I felt like my health was kind of suffering a little bit, and I couldn't figure out why. And so I started taking videos of myself because I don't have full-length mirrors or scales in my house. When I was a teenager, I had an eating disorder, and because of that, I don't worry about my weight, and I don't worry, for the most part, I don't worry really about my physical appearance, because as a kid, my idea about what I looked like was skewed. And so I thought the videos would be a really good way to look at myself and see how I was doing. And especially in one video, I think it was the How to Be a Geriatric Homesteader, I looked at myself and I'm like, wow, I'm really puffy. I just look really puffy. And I have a really kind of a bigger belly, and I looked at that and my pants had started to get too tight around the waist. Most of the rest of me was okay, but I had a lot of swelling and puffing. And in one of my videos, I think it's the response to the rant from one girl's rant, you couldn't really hear me very well because my jaw was so swollen. I had my lymph in my throat had swollen up really, really bad, and it was painful to even talk. And I went to the doctors and I got some standard blood work done, and because I was worried I had a brain tumor because I had these headaches that wouldn't go away. And it turned out that what had happened was I'm celiac, and I have been for forever. Or not celiac. I can eat wheat, but if I eat it for 4 days in a row, I start to have anaphylactic shock to things that I'm not allergic to. It's like it turns my body into a universal reactor, and I react to everything if I have wheat in my system. So of course I took wheat out of my system, except for really special occasions where I'll eat just a tiny bit. Well, when I did that, I switched to other grains. I switched to corn and rice and other things. And where usually I only eat a really small amount of those, I started to use those as bread substitutes and things like that. Long story short, I cannot have any grains. And so at that time, I really was kind of starting to feel down about myself because I was happy about the size I was, but the fact that they were starting to get too tight had me a little concerned, because in my mind, if you're in good health, you can kind of waver a little bit up and down, but it shouldn't be constantly getting larger. So once I cut out the other grains, I stopped getting the headaches. So that was my sign. Okay, don't eat grains. You can't eat grains. So that's simple. But at that point, when I cut out grains, I started to eat a lot of sugar because I needed something that was a quick fix, or I thought I needed something that was a quick fix, and a stimulant. Well, I'm going to talk about stimulants. When we first started homesteading, I lived on coffee. I lived on tea, and I lived on chocolate because I wanted something that would just push me really, really hard so that I could get back out there and do my work. And I ended up crashing. I got really, 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 really sick, and I was down for like 3 weeks so that I actually couldn't function. And I started to get arthritis in my joints, and I was kind of bedridden for 3 weeks, and then it took me a long time to get back on my feet. And now, whenever I have stimulants or I overdo it, it happens very quickly, and I'm back out just flat out again. And so it really damaged me. And so as far as stimulants, they don't have vitamins in them. They don't. All they're doing, so if you think about like drugs, I'm trying to think of the one that they said, was it heroin? That when you take it, what it actually does is it takes a chemical out of your brain that's already there, but it stimulates a part of your brain so that it releases this feel-good chemical. Well, there's only a limited amount of that chemical in your brain. And so as you use it up, you have to use more of the heroin in order to make that stimulant come down, and it actually damages where the part of your body that produces that. Well, that's what coffee and tea do too, is that, and my understanding is that it's your adrenal glands that it affects, because it pushes out all of this move fast, move fast, move fast adrenaline, and your adrenal glands only have so much of that. It's like drinking a lot of alcohol damages your liver because it has to process that. And so moderation, if you're going to use a stimulant to amp yourself up, and then alcohol to slow yourself down, just recognize that it's taking things out of your body that sometimes are not replaceable quickly, because that was what I did. And it's a really, really nasty cycle, and it takes a long time and a lot of good food to get your body repaired enough that you can function at that point. And it is cumulative. So once I took the stimulants out of my life, I slumped. I was like, I don't have any way to get energy. I'm just tired all the time. I just feel so sorry for myself. So I started eating a lot of sugar. And when I started eating a lot of sugar, my weight started, or I have no idea what my weight was because I don't weigh myself, but I started to get puffier, and I found that I had a lot more lethargy, and instead of eating my lunch, I was eating chocolate. And so this is one of my favorite books, French Women Don't Get Fat. And it's what I checked out and what I started to read when I was feeling kind of bad about myself, because I was going through this cycle of either eating stimulants or eating sugar, and and then feeling bad because I'm overeating on my lunches. And I just was like, this isn't healthy. I shouldn't have to eat this much food in order to feel like I can function, and why do I look like this? And I just kind of had a come to Jesus moment with myself, and I said, well, I guess I'll do some research. And this is the one that made me feel the happiest. Some of the others that I read were Sugar Blues, because I felt like I couldn't get off the sugar. I knew it had no nutritional value for me, but I was having a really hard time feeling good about myself if I wasn't using it, because then I felt like I didn't have any energy. So what she suggests is that you do not go on a diet, but instead you notice what you're eating, and at the beginning find healthy alternatives, and then bring back in your sinful pleasures a little bit at a time. So I love her. I absolutely love this book. But I will tell you, because I did it a little differently than she did. What I did was, when I was in my 20s, I was really healthy, really fit, and I was really particular about what I ate. I still didn't eat any packaged foods, but I ate expensive whole foods. I ate some really expensive whole foods. I went through a package of frozen raspberries in a day, and what it came down to was not having anything in my home that I couldn't eat unless I had a healthy alternative for it. So first off, what she suggests is to have yogurt for breakfast, and I thought, I'm not going to make it on yogurt for breakfast. I have all this work to do. When I eat breakfast, I eat hash browns and eggs and sausage and drink cups of milk. And but I thought, well, I'm not going to eliminate my big breakfast. What I'll do instead is, when I get up really early in the morning, I'll eat some yogurt. So I'll add it. Instead of just eliminating my big breakfast, I'm just going to eat yogurt first. And so I ate some yogurt in the morning. And it's homemade yogurt. This does not work with store-bought yogurt. At least it didn't for me. And what I started to find was that I would get up in the morning, and I would eat my yogurt, and then when it was my usual time to eat my regular breakfast, I wasn't hungry yet. And not only that, and here's more personal, I would have a bowel movement. Within 5 minutes of eating my yogurt, I would have a bowel movement, and like clockwork. And so all of a sudden, I was like, well, why am I not as hungry? Am I coming down sick? And I really thought I was. But it turned out that I could wait, and during this time, the only thing that I changed at all was that I added yogurt in the breakfast, for breakfast in the morning. And if I was still hungry, then I would make breakfast. But if I wasn't hungry, I would go out and do chores. And the other thing I changed was that I cut out my sugars. I buy frozen fruit, and I put, I just have it in the fridge, or I have it in the freezer, and that way if I have a craving for something sweet, that's what I eat. Now, the reason I cut out sugars wasn't just because I was getting puffy. I have, since I was a kid, I've had what's called a systemic yeast infection. It's not a girly yeast infection. It just means that your body, when it has extra sugars in it, has a tendency to go rampant with yeasties, candida. And it can show up as halitosis, it can show up as skin problems, but it's just candida that overtakes your system. So I already knew this about myself. This was not new information. I just started doing it again because I remembered what I did when I was younger. So I cut out all sugars. I do not eat honey. I do not eat Splenda. I do not eat sugar. I do not eat any kind of processed sugar. Even if it was processed by an animal, I don't eat it. The only sugar I can eat is if it's still with its fiber, if it's still fruit. And I do the Eat Right for Your Blood type. Type O is what I am. And so I eat a lot of turnips and leafy greens and a lot of, I don't eat a lot of meat. I eat meat. And that's the only thing I changed. So this is what I would suggest for anyone who would like to lose some squishiness, some inflammation. Inflammation is the best word. If you are inflamed and you can't figure out why, then these are the things that I would do. Cut out sugars, all sugars including honey. For one thing, because when you eat sugars, they make you want to eat more sugars, and because they're mostly empty calories, it means that your body takes them in, and then there's no leftover parts to go to building anything. It's just energy food, but it's not vitamin food. So cut out sugars. Cut out your allergens. So not everybody is sensitive to grains. I'm sensitive to grains, so when I cut it out, all of a sudden I slimmed right down. It's been 4 months, and I haven't been on a scale, but I've lost like 4 pant sizes in 4 months, and I'm eating full fat. I do not believe in denaturing food. I eat, and I don't know if you'll believe this or not, but I eat a cube of butter a day. I am mercury toxic, and because of that, I need all the fat I can get, and I need protein. And so according to your own body, what you know that you're allergic to, what you know that you're sensitive to, good tells are if your throat gets itchy after you eat something, or if your nose gets kind of twitchy and you feel like you're always rubbing your nose, or if your ears itch. Those are all indicators that you are allergic to something. And so it's your information on how you do it. There's no real diet you can follow. It's not a diet. It's just how you eat healthy and don't have inflammation. So I'm not paleo. I eat dairy. I have to eat dairy. And I eat potatoes. So it's just what makes you feel good. And it's not about being skinny. It's about if I had still been a little bigger than I am now, would I still be as happy? And would I trade? I would trade eating wheat for being a little puffy. If it didn't also cause me terrible allergies, I would probably still eat wheat, because it's nice to feel like you have your comfort foods. But the other thing I would check is if you have parasites. Being on a farm is not the only way that you get parasites. If you have cats, or dogs, or hamsters, or children, they are all parasite carriers. They pick them up at the sandbox, they pick them up at the playground, they pick them up at school, they pick them up on your carpet. Parasites are just a way of life, and everybody has them, but you might have too many. You might need to do a cleanse and a flush. So I think those are my 3 things. As far as exercise, I had to get rid of my computer and my television, because I would spend so much time in front of them trying to be entertained that I wasn't getting up and moving and doing my job. So if you have addictions and if you have allergies, these are all good things to remove if you want to be healthier. And I'm not going to say losing weight, because to my knowledge, I haven't actually lost weight. But you can probably see in some of my videos that I have lost a lot of inflammation. And again, I don't, and this book that I love, the reason I love it is because it's not a diet book. French Eat Full Fat. They eat meat, they eat cheese, they eat pastry, they eat everything, but it is about enjoying your food and savoring your food and valuing your food, and to that I add get rid of things that you're allergic to. Oh, and I had some websites that I love. I wanted to kind of, what's the word? I wanted to inspire myself. So the women that I love to watch on YouTube that inspired me, that were my age, and made me feel good about myself, made me think I want to be like them. Their names are Garden Girl, and she has a fabulous, I love her website. It's so amazing. She has done so much. Her name is Garden Girl, and she has a homestead in the city, and she's fabulous. The other one is Bex Life, B-E-X-L-I-F-E, Bex Life. She also has a little farmette, but she's more into the exercising. I'm not a big exerciser because I work pretty hard on the farm, and I can't afford to use up all those calories on just toning my bum. I need those calories for when I have to work really hard, so I'm not a big exerciser as far as exercise besides the farm. But I do like her, and I think she has really good happy thoughts, and she's beautiful, so I love to watch her. The other one is, and this is the only one that that actually has anything to do with trimming down, and that's Cassandra Banks, and her site is Diamonds and Heels 14, and the video I like is 7 tips to a flat stomach in 7 days. So what I really felt bad about was that I couldn't understand why my stomach was so puffy. This was how I inspired myself to change. I got some of the things she talks about is wearing tight shirts, so that because it makes you sit up a little straighter and pull everything in a little harder, so that you don't have that muffin top. But she's really positive about it, and she doesn't talk about dieting. She just talks about kind of mindset. And I really like her. She's really down to earth, and I respect her a lot. So those are some of the websites that I liked. And if you have any questions, go ahead and let me know. And so if you feel like there was like a little bit of a transformation in what I was doing from the beginning of my videos till now, it's because there was. I was feeling a little bit lost in why I felt like my health was kind of betraying me. And now what you see is that I kind of got it figured out, and so I kind of wanted to share it with you, what that transformation kind of meant for me. That, and it is winter. If it's summer, I am so much busier. In the winter, I have time to make videos, and so this was a good time of year for me to kind of try and figure this out. So, again, seasonality and forgiveness. We're not always going to be perfect. Or what our perception of perfect is. We're not always going to be in one stage in our life, and our stages move, and our body needs change. And I just believe that if you're eating good, healthy, wholesome food, and your health isn't quite what you want it to be, keep studying, keep reading, and you'll find it. But you're always going to be better off with healthy, whole foods than you will be with packaged foods and processed sugars and stuff like that. And that's easier said than done sometimes, because sometimes we're under stress, and it's just easier to pop a stimulant. But it has a tendency to kind of show up in our bodies eventually. So anyway, there we go.